I want to make sure that everybody's muted. Okay, cool. Okay. So welcome again. So I just was letting the last couple of people in. So today we are, last week we worked on silence, and we worked on beginning the experience of what it's like to come into what's called mauna, which is noble silence, which is depth of silence. A sense of the body and the mind and emotions coming to a deep sense of stillness and calm. There's a story of a Zen master. His name was Soen Sa Nim. And the story goes that right before he would do a public sermon, he had a big stick, and he would raise the stick up and he would say, do you see this? Right? And then afterwards he would grab the stick and go to the ground or to the table that he had, and it would make a sound, and he would say, do you hear this? And why I'm wanting to start the session with this is notice all the thoughts that came into your mind when I just gave that story. Right? Our tendencies to explain, our tendencies to add commentary. So for example, a commentary might be like, well, that's a weird way to start a meditation class, right? Might be also just added dialogue that we put to a situation, the commentaries, the evaluations, the expectations also. Notice what your expectations are of coming to class today. And can I drop all expectations, all commentary, all thoughts and interpretations of what is showing up in front of me and just be with things raw as they are? And so when he would say, do you see this? The question then would be, what are you seeing? Do you see the stick? What is your concept of the stick? Vipassana, which is the method of meditation that I will be discussing today, or that we will be practicing today. The word itself means clear seeing. Seeing things as they are, perhaps not as we want them to be, or as we think they should be, or as we expect them to be, but as they are. So do you really see the stick and the sound that it makes? In a couple of sessions back, I spoke of my dog barking. Can I hear the sound of the bark as it is? As a sound, as is coming forth in this moment. Why do I add whether it's pleasant or unpleasant? Right? Really invites the question of who is really seeing or experiencing any moment in time. Think about how many times you might be in a conversation, and as you're listening to the person, all sorts of categorizations and judgments and interpretations and expectations of what is being said are coming through to you. It is the nature of the mind to define, to find answers, to explain. But you are not only your mind. That is the invitation that I'm giving you here to explore. You are not only your mind. You are not only your thoughts. You are the seer, the thinker of the thoughts, the one that experiences the awareness, the presence. And meditation is the doorway of exploration of that part of you. So do you hear this? even as you hear me. Notice the tendency to explain or to add in our mind. And I provide this information not as a way of adding additional judgment, but as self-inquiry, which is the second part of what I offer in our sessions here. Meditation and self-inquiry. An exploration of why. Why do I think the things I think? Why do I do the things I do? So today we will begin a series of explorations of the foundations of mindfulness. And mindfulness being a state of awareness of what is here, of life as it shows up, of the stick and the sound that the stick makes as it is. Can I arrive to the original moment, the actual moment as it's happening? This morning, I love Sunday mornings. I rarely have free time, and when I do, I really appreciate it. And this morning, I was with my dog in bed, and there's a window, right, that leads to the lake. He loves sitting there and just looking onto the lake and people passing by and barking, of course. And so I just sat with him and I was caressing him. And I could see myself defining like the color of the fur, the touch of the fur, whether it was soft or hard or warm because of the way that the sun was hitting it. And so I began to experiment as I'm sharing here with you. Can I see this moment as it is? And so I began to connect to that part of me that is just observing what is showing up. The awareness behind the thoughts, the awareness behind the sensations and feelings, the presence. And I could feel what I mentioned last week about a sense of connection. And so I could feel myself much more connected through the senses, through the sense of touch. Can I just sense the body as I'm touching it, as I'm caressing it? The tactile experience of that. As if it were for the first time, as if I didn't know what soft meant. Can I experience it as it's showing up in this moment? And it is it's tricky because the mind will show up and want to add interpretations of things and try to control the experience. And so observing what shows up, what arises, what disappears, what manifests as thought or sensation or feeling. And so this leads me to, as I mentioned, the four foundations of mindfulness. And we've begun exploring in these classes the mindfulness of body, being aware of the body and the sensations of the body and what it feels like to be present within the consciousness of the physical form. And today we are going to explore the mindfulness of feelings, being aware of feelings. So at first we can use the mind as a tool, as a way of understanding the different layers of consciousness so that we may get deeper into the presence of the seer. So as we become aware of feelings today, I will give an example. I would like us to consider the following. When we notice a feeling, to first observe. So in essence, I'm going to start now giving you the instructions of our meditation today and the practice that we will be doing, the mindfulness practice that we will be doing. And one more thing before I go into that, because there are a couple of you that are new here. I began meditating when I was very young, and the reason why I continue this work is because it has helped me to connect to my soul and the higher, wiser part of my being, so that I may do the work that I do, so I may connect to angels, guides, and teachers, to grace, as you can, as you can. More importantly, to learn to listen to the true self, the seer, your inner guide, your inner teacher, the presence that is always here assisting you. That is the reasoning for this work. So that I may clearly see things as they are, not as I want them to be or as I think they should be, but as they are. So that I may see the stick, not all the added content and filters that I may put on top and in front of it, but that I may acknowledge it as it's showing up. How different the world would be if I saw people in that way. If I saw my interactions with other human beings in that way, instead of interpreting their words in the way that I want, their actions in the way that I think. How much is lost in translation? So our work today is this exploration of vipassana, of clearly seeing life as it shows up, being present with the inner wiser self within you and finding that space, recognizing that space. That space is within you already. It is a matter of allowing the filters to soothe, allowing the waves to come down so that you may see just as the stick. Allowing the thoughts to drift away, the emotions to drift away, the expectations and evaluations of what I am seeing, but seeing it as it is, as it's showing up in truth. When we work with intuition, we are exploring levels of truth. How can I get to the deepest truth of my being and the deepest truth of my life? So the second foundation, which is the one that we were going to be working on today, is the mindfulness of feelings. It is becoming aware of feelings as they are. And at first, beginning to get to know feelings, get to explore what they are. So you may notice as a feeling shows up, is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Is it worldly or is it spiritual? Notice the way that the feeling arises and disappears and manifests or reappears. So I would like to give an example of this. Those of you know that I hurt my toe. I mentioned this in a couple of previous classes. I thought it was just a normal bruise. I don't think it is now. It's been a couple of weeks that I've had it, and I'm still recovering from it. It's better, but I'm still recovering from it. So it's been a great teacher to me of patience and of irritation. And what happens when I become irritated and angry that I cannot do certain things that I want to be doing right now. And so I'd like to explore that feeling with you so you understand what I'm talking about. So I would notice the feeling of dissatisfaction at what is, right? Let me give you an example. I've been cleaning up and I wanted to, get rid of some shoes. So I was trying to put on my shoes. I couldn't put my shoes on, the high heels that I love, right? And, because my toe is still inflamed. And so I saw the moment. It's very interesting when we're in this speed, like going in the speed of the moment or in the speed of the normal day movements. where I felt like I almost wanted to push into the foot, into the shoe. And the moment I caught myself not being kind, wanting to make something happen, I stopped. And so I just said, I felt the anger and the frustration of not being able to do that in that moment because I had planned to do that. And so I noticed the feelings that came with that, the frustration that came with that. So first thing that I did was locate it. Where do I feel this? At that moment, I felt it in my gut, right? Like a punch in the belly. So I felt it in my gut. The feeling of frustration and anger at the fact that I couldn't put my foot in the shoe. And so I named it. What am I really feeling here? What is the sensation of warmth and of like a tightness in my belly? It's frustration. And I could see how frustration can lead to anger if I keep pushing to make something happen that is not happening, right? So I stepped away from that and I just noticed the feeling. I allowed myself to really experience the feeling in its fullness, and I released it through the exhale, put the shoe back, placed my hands on my heart, and I said, I'm sorry to myself for that. Right? And that is outside of mindfulness, but that's also the practice of being kind, of living an open mind and open heart, to be kind. And so, and I really love those shoes. So it really means hard. And so I thought, oh, well, let me share something as like a simple way of demonstrating this, right? And then there are levels to this experience, right? The story that I might tell myself, I should be better right now. I want to go back to doing this particular thing that I've been working on. But my body's saying, relax. No. And so then when we are faced with a circumstance that we have no control over, like for example, I have no control over that. I have a friend of mine who is a physical therapist. I wonder if she's here today. Oh, okay, maybe she wasn't able to make it today. Who's a physical therapist, and I was asking her in reference to it, and then she says, "Well, if you broke your toe, you're just gonna have to let it, do its thing, because there's nothing really you can do except be careful how you walk and that kind of thing." And I was like, okay, it's not broken, by the way, because I can move it, but to give you an example. And so it's how can I allow what is here to be as it is and to make peace with it? So this is one example that I'm giving you. So if I use the techniques that I'm mentioning right now, right? When I felt that sensation at trying to put my foot in the shoe, was it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? It was unpleasant, right? So I have to be honest with myself about what I'm feeling in that moment. It was unpleasant. Then we come into the definition of, did I notice how it arose? Did I notice when it disappeared? Can I notice the sensations of the frustration without the words, but just as a feeling? And it's uncomfortable. It takes courage to do this work. I mean, I'm giving you a small example of something little in comparison to bigger things in life, such as grief or, the loss of someone, or a difficulty of that kind of caliber. Can I make this, can I be with what is showing up without judging it? Just allowing myself to observe the feeling, observe the sensation, observe its location, name it so that I can allow myself to gather the energy and experience it so that I may release it. That is why we're naming it, right? So let me give you another example, which is a common one, of tasting something you don't like. For example, I I actually did that this week. I'm vegan, and so I was very happy to try a vegan tres leches, which is like a big deal if you're vegan, that there be something like that. And And I went to this place that's, kind of popular. And so I bought it, and I'm eating it in my car because of COVID. And as soon as I tasted it, I was like, oh, this is not. Mm-mm. So my first thought was like, I can't believe that I just spent about $10 for this tiny little thing and it's not good, right? And so again, the practice of mindfulness is to take it in your everyday life. So I stayed with the tres leches, and I put it in my hand, and I'm like, let me feel the unpleasantness of the taste. And so I felt the unpleasantness of it, and I could just feel the descriptive feeling of that. And again, feel the sensation, name it, release it, and throw away the tres leches. And so, to give you an example, but I actually didn't throw it away. I actually took another bite, and I said, can I look for positive aspects in this? And I did, the whipped cream, So it's little ways like this, and that's why I'm sharing them with you, that you can learn these techniques so that when bigger things show up in your life, you know how to handle them, right? It's learning to build resilience in the understanding of our thoughts and feelings, and in the reconnecting to the seer, so that you can find your sense of power and not feel powerless to life and the different things that might show up. So, good. So I think I've explained enough of that, and I will guide you through this experience. So I want you to find a comfortable position, whether sitting or laying. So we're going to begin our guided meditation now. So finding a comfortable place to sit or to lay. And closing the eyes. And becoming aware of what you're experiencing in this moment. Simply noticing the passing of time in this moment. Noticing yourself breathing, observing the breath. Noticing where the breath rises and where it falls, where it begins and where it ends. And noticing what you're feeling in this moment. Just observing the sensations and simply noticing, are they pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? And perhaps bringing into awareness your last meal yesterday. Sensing yourself having a bite of that meal. And recalling the way the food felt in your mouth. Noticing the textures, the taste buds, the sense of smell or sight. And noticing, was the experience pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? And perhaps even becoming aware of which parts of this experience were pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And letting that go. And recalling a strong feeling you had this week. Just noticing what comes to this moment of awareness as you think of that. And for a moment, noticing space between you and that memory, almost as if you could put it in a white screen in front of you. Noticing that feeling, a strong feeling that you felt this week. And become aware of where you felt it in your body. Notice the sensations that comes with it. Any tightness or openness in the body. The breathing. Simply observing, noticing. Noticing the way the feeling arose and the way it begins to disappear. And if it holds, allowing yourself to fully experience it. What does this feeling feel like? Is it pleasant, unpleasant, neutral? Simply observing the sensations themselves. And perhaps noticing what happens when you separate your explanation of this feeling and simply allow the feeling to be as it is. Can I breathe it out? And perhaps giving yourself permission to do that now. Fully feeling it, noticing it, letting it speak, letting it be. And just like that, through the exhale, allowing it to disappear. Letting it go, creating space between you and it, almost as if you could put it in the white screen and breathing it out. Releasing. And this time, recalling a pleasant moment this week. Noticing where you felt that pleasant moment. Noticing the body sensations as you experience the pleasantness of this moment or that moment. How the breathing changed, if it did. How your posture was. The way the body felt. The way the mind acknowledged that moment in time. And can I notice how this feeling arises within me as a sensation? Can I notice its beginning, middle, and end? And allowing myself to exhale it out, release it. And now bringing your awareness into this very moment. Experiencing what is here right now. Noticing any sounds. And the spaces between the sounds. Noticing your breath. And the spaces between the inhales and the exhales. And if any thoughts or sensations are present, finding the space between them and around them. Staying within the soothing space between sounds, sensations, thoughts. Just letting go. Noticing the silence. The calm between the breaths. The calm inside the breath. The silence between the thoughts, between the sounds. And allowing your awareness to rest there. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, other than right here, right now. Letting go. Surrendering to the silence and the space between thoughts and sounds and sensations. Noticing the spaces of calm and quiet and resting there. Allowing yourself to fully be there. Letting go of effort and doing. Just breathing and being here. Sensing the part of you that is aware of you in this moment. The presence observing noticing. Sensing the aliveness inside of you in this moment. A sense of wakefulness, of being, of calm. Sensing your wise, knowing self. The greater you. Holding you in this moment. And becoming aware of the breath. And the sound. Aware of what it feels like to be in your body in this moment in time. And beginning to sense yourself coming back, returning. Allowing a gentle sense of wakefulness and peace in your breath, in your body. A sense of receptivity to life. And gently beginning to open the eyes and return into the now. Giving yourself a few moments to re-enter into life as it is here right now. Beginning to move the body. Gently allowing yourself to inhabit this moment. Inhabit this moment as yourself. And taking a deep inhale. And exhale, completely coming back now as you're ready. And you may want to take a couple of minutes to write down your experience. And we will have 10 minutes to answer any questions you may have. Unless you feel ready, you are invited to raise your hand, and I will call you as needed. If you would like to share your experience, you're welcome to do that. Alicia, did you want to do that? I think I saw you raise your hand. Okay, good. And if we have no questions,
it's the experience was so peaceful.
Oh, good, thank you. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and to be so grateful to my body, and like a call to be kind with herself.
Yes.
And sometimes, like, we can be kind with others, but we need to remember to be kind with ourselves too. Yes. I'm so peaceful.
Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. It really brings home what I was talking earlier about my toe, and when we catch ourselves not being kind, when we catch ourselves forcing to make things happen, or to be rough because we're in a hurry. Why? Take your time. This is life. Life is happening right now. How can I bring the experience of my life in this moment to be kinder, better, whatever better might mean to each and individually, one of you? How can I be at peace and experience more love and joy within myself and the way that I interact with the world and the way the world interacts with me? Thank you. Who else would like to share? Hi, T.
I would like to know why my fingers got really numb.
Oh, it's normal. Sometimes parts of the body might fall asleep. Mm-hmm. And also when we relax as deeply as sometimes we can with meditation, that may happen. I've sometimes when I'm sitting in meditation, my foot might get numb, for example. And so, yeah, and then you have the choice of, do I want to move it or can I just let it be for a little bit?
Okay.
Good, good. So we have time for one more question. Anybody else?
This is Celeste.
Hi, Celeste.
I really don't have a question. I wanted to share something that actually, I'm very glad that you did this meditation today, because I went through something this week as I go back and forth to work. Like I encounter people again. I've been very peaceful in my house, not having to deal with humans.
Oh, those humans.
My first dealing with humans, I failed miserably. I was asking God to forgive me and help me, because I reacted and not even today, I realized that at the moment I scream at a person, like from the very deep side of myself without knowing, I saw myself in that whiteboard, like reacting without even, it was not me, like it was not my soul. It was like brat, like totally, I want to be right, shut up. I didn't say shut up, but something like that. And I know I hurt the feelings of this person. I saw it on her face. But I didn't even ask for forgiveness. I just continue like, like you are that way, and no, not in my area, like it was something very, but today I saw it more, and I let myself felt the embarrassment of me, of that part of me that was not nice and that wanted to be right and wanted to like claim my place. I don't know how to explain it, but I saw it clearly and I felt it, and it didn't feel nice. It was in my heart. It was in my gut. It was like something that I didn't like about myself, that I thought I was kind of getting better at it. And it came out like from nowhere, but I know it came from somewhere.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, and then it was good to be kind to myself after I felt all of that, and to forgive myself for that moment. And I realized, and it gives me like sadness at the same time that I reacted that way. And I know I have to ask her to please forgive me for that reaction, to prove that I was the owner of the area, which nobody is. And but I was able to feel it, and I still feel it, and I still have, and I know I'm going to meditate a little bit more on it, to just completely forgive myself and breathe it out and feel other moments where I'm that way, not only with that person, but it's in reality something that I've been working on, and that it's like, I want to be right. Like, and why? Why? It was about a photocopy machine. Please give me a break. It was like, I realized it and I saw it, and I'm grateful that you did this meditation, that I'm here, being able to work on it. So thank you. And I just wanted to share, because I know we're vulnerable and we're human.
Thank
And
you.
I don't know. I'm trying to feel, and I will work on it today. Feel what that, why did that happen, and where did it come from?
I
Why?
love your experience, Celeste, if I may, only because of time. So it is our time to end the session, but I will ask if you guys don't mind staying a couple more minutes so I can follow up on Celeste. Celeste, did you want to add anything else, or should I follow up now?
No, follow up.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know it takes courage to self-disclose. Your teacher likes to teach in that way. But I value it when you guys have the courage and the kindness towards yourself and towards our group to share your private experiences. And I wanted to speak a little bit about that. I actually, today, my intention was to teach about forgiveness, which is very interesting that you're speaking about that. And I thought that I would give a whole class just on forgiveness. So I will be working on that. One of our Sunday classes on just forgiveness. And so to notice when we become reactive and where it comes from. So, in our experience today, we were talking about locating it. Where do I feel that experience of what I'm doing, or whatever the circumstance might be? Where do I locate it? What's the name of this emotion? How can I allow myself to fully experience it and release it? And there are times when humans will trigger us and situations will trigger us, and where we might not show up as our best selves. And the pain that often comes with that recognition, but also the grace, the opportunity to return to grace, the goodness that is you. There is a goodness within you that is untarnished. And you can always return to that space within you. That we learn from the circumstances. That we learn from having been triggered in anger, that we learn from resentment or pain or suffering, and its many different phases. And that we return to our essential goodness, and that we find the goodness within others and live from that space more often, and keep on practicing and keep on making it part of our lives. And when we don't, that we acknowledge our vulnerability. For myself, and what I was sharing about my toe, to share the vulnerability of I have no control over the circumstance, and I will have moments of frustration with myself, and I will have moments of frustration with the sensations in my body. But I can also acknowledge it's getting better, and the bruising is less, and it's less tender. And same thing in your experience, Alette. The mere fact that you acknowledge that you were not your highest self in that moment is a gift, is the doorway to change. At any point, I can choose the way. I can choose to recognize myself as the seer, the goodness that is within me, the God spark that is within me. Grace is always accessible, and we can always return to it. So notice when you become triggered. I will be talking in future classes about this, continuing this exploration of our feelings and the ways that we get triggered by life. And to notice what occurs when you do that. How do I find my way back to me, to my true self? And can I acknowledge this experience in its wholeness? When I feel angry at someone, can I feel that anger, whether that someone is yourself or someone else? Can I feel that anger without reacting? Can I allow myself to go through the experience of being triggered and breathe through it? Rely on myself to solve it. And this is one way that we might experience that this week or explore it this week in our self-inquiry. Can I take responsibility of what I am feeling? I'd like to give you an example with this as you were talking about being triggered. I often get triggered with people that don't wear masks, considering COVID-19. And I've mentioned this in other classes. And I've come a long way from where I was at before with it. Because my first instinct is to put a mask on them, to keep them safe and keep everybody else safe. And so just to notice that energy, where does that energy arise in you? Why the need to control circumstances and people's behaviors and the machine that you were talking about, Celeste, and the way that people react with the machine or the way that people interact with you or the people around you? Why this need to control? And the why is because we seek a sense of safety. That might be one way, one reason. We seek a sense of safety. We seek a sense of security. But what if, and this is something to explore this week, I own my sense of security and safety? What if I don't depend on the world changing, but that I change myself to the circumstances around me? So in the case of people not wearing masks, how can I still feel at peace with the fear that somebody might be contagious, or that I myself might be contagious to that person and they're not taking care of themselves? Because people can be asymptomatic. The truth is, we cannot control circumstances. We cannot control people. We can only control our perception of the world. As I began our session today, I spoke of the stick that the teacher was holding. Do you see the stick, or do you add a whole bunch of stories around it? Do I just see the person walking without a mask? Or do I add a whole story to it? Can I let go of the story? Can I let go of the thoughts and sensations and ways that I want to control the experience? Or the way that I wish to relate to that experience? Because really it's about relating. It's how we relate to the world and the things around us. Can I let that go? Can I come to the recognition that truly the only thing that I have control over is my perception of the world, the way that I choose to walk in it and breathe in it and be in it. So this week, as homework, let's explore the ways that feelings show up for us in a way of inviting what is here to be, in a way of being kind to ourselves and to others when we don't show up as our true selves. The gift of forgiveness is that we give ourselves and others a chance to be who they are. That's why the word forgiveness, for giving. You give an opportunity for the person to rise and be who they truly are. These are stressful times. And can we be kind? And if we forget to be kind, to return that kindness to ourselves, to begin at home, here, with me. I thank you all for your courage and your dedication to this work and your dedication to your own personal growth. Truly, that is what we can give to the world. Our love and our care and our kindness and our showing up as who we truly are. I send each of you my love and light. May you remember who you are. May you live from that space. And if you forget, may you find your way again. Have a very lovely week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.